Hello and welcome to the channel. It is that week between Christmas and New Year. It is officially Crimbo Limbo and I don't even know what day it is. However, I'm here as always at the weekend to give you your update of motorsport news for the week. And as you can expect, it's not been the busiest week with everyone having a couple of days off for Christmas. Not thinking about us and giving you news, are they? So here we are. I'll give you what I've got, and I've found some news stories that I think are fascinating, and we'll have a look at those, and it'll be a shorter video than normal, I suppose. Please do like and subscribe to the channel. We've separated this from the car reviews channel, so if you're watching this, whichever channel you've come from, please do make sure you subscribe to this channel too, because we're building up from scratch. So let's get into it and have a look at what I've found. First of all, there's the channel. That's what you're looking for. Now, number one, I have found this article in Italian. I don't speak Italian, so I did rely on a translation. However, it is about Hamilton's race engineer, Riccardo Adami, and their relationship is probably best described as a little bit frosty, or it certainly comes across that way on the radio, doesn't it? We've had the, have a tea break while you're at it, or Hamilton in the last race saying on the radio that he enjoyed working with them and it was a good year, and you know, we built loads for the following year to get no response, and get the one time you don't actually talk back to me, and he's like, oh yeah, we're just, you know, we're chatting here, sorry I didn't hear you. So it's mind-boggling how bad and disjointed that seems to be. But of course we're used to Lewis and Bono chatting on the radio and them just knowing what they mean and having such a long relationship. Ferrari is a very different team and Lewis is still getting used to it. Riccardo Adami obviously had a few moments with Carlos Sainz, didn't he? There were moments where they didn't get on as well, but I think they're just very different people. So the conversation on the radio probably sounds worse than it is, like in real life when they're chatting to each other. It's probably very, very different. Now, this article just talks about that everything is on the table in terms of replacing him or changing up the lineup in the engineering department so that Lewis has someone different to talk to on the radio. They're looking at that and they are open to potentially changing that, which I think for fans and those who have watched Lewis Hamilton's really tough season will be quite pleased to see that that might change. I think Lewis wants it to change. We'll see how that progresses, but personally, I think that that relationship is just a little bit too difficult. There's just not quite enough personality between them. It doesn't feel like it clicks, and you can feel Lewis struggling with containing his emotion in terms of his response and, you know, saying what he really thinks on the radio. And I think with race engineers, you need that time and you need that relationship. You need to be able to sort of second guess each other and understand immediately what the other person wants. And if you are on the phone, you say this and this and this, they know exactly what that means to you rather than just the words, because everything has a very slightly different meaning if you read it the wrong way or you hear it while you're doing something else. You know, those things do have a meaning. So I think that's a really important point. I think it's really important that Ferrari are actually open to changing it because they're not best at accepting change. So that will be an interesting development and we'll see how that goes. Next up, on the subject of Bono, he did say that he thinks, I think it's him and Andy Shovlin from Mercedes, they believe that a big differentiator is to return in 2026. And that really is all about reliability, especially reliability of power units. With the new regulations coming in with the power units, they're going to be brand new hybrid technology effectively, aren't they? You're going to have this 50% power from the battery and 50% power from the new e-fuel, effectively, this sustainable fuels. And it is going to be quite different in the terms of how they run. Now, F1 teams and the engine manufacturers are fully well versed in how these things are going to work, and they've put thousands of hours on the dyno. But they are going to be new, and Formula One is like the best place to stress test technology because you're going to places crazy hot like Qatar. You've got long races, you've got different ambient temperatures, you have got different sea levels, you have got like Mexico where it's so the engines are starved of oxygen because of the level and the height of the place, and you've got all these different things that you just don't get in other series. So it is the best place to stress test this tech, and I think he's right. We are going to see these more reliability issues cropping in, and this graph was particularly impressive to me because you look at how things were in the early 2000s, certainly back in the 90s, when you look back at old races and you think, wow, the rate of people dropping out was incredible. And if you look at now, the rate of people dropping out is so low. You have so many races now where just nobody drops out because the cars are so reliable, and engineers have worked out how to manage them and limp them over the line at the, with everything still hanging on. So there is a big difference in that reliability, and I think we are going to see a few bigger reliability issues cropping in and people struggling. And that could be championship defining. Look at the engine going bang for Lando Norris in Zandvoort. That could very easily have been championship defining. Look at the Mercedes going pop in the back of Lewis Hamilton's car in 2016. That potentially cost him the championship to Nico Rosberg that year. So these things are massive, and if they do crop in, we're going to see some interesting results, and that is going to be fascinating to see. Are some manufacturers going to be on it and some going to really struggle? Or how are Ford going to get on? How are Audi going to get on? Because they are brand new to the sport effectively, so it's going to be interesting to see whether they get a handle on it. Is one of the established players, if Ferrari built something amazing that's going to fall over, have Mercedes built something great and it's not going to be reliable? Sometimes it's harder to make something reliable that's fast, and sometimes it's hard to make something fast that's reliable. So you can come at this from either direction, and that is going to be absolutely fascinating. Another story that I found on racefans.net, and this is one, an interview with Arvid Lindblad. He said, a lot of things that I learned in Formula 2 aren't going to be relevant. And I thought that was quite fascinating because it's supposed to be the next step. Surely there should be so much you learn in F2 that is directly relatable. And are those series now too far apart? And I think that's something to be quite interested about. The series probably needs to be slightly closer together because it is a direct stepping stone, and we've seen loads of drivers come from F2 into who have been great in F2 come to F1 and be completely nowhere. Likewise, we've seen drivers who haven't set the world on fire in F2 come to F1 and shown that they're brilliant. And I just think they're not close enough. And of course you need to keep costs down because F2 is ridiculously expensive already, but it does need to be more representative. You want to see those that are smashing it in F2, you want to be confident that they're going to be able to do the same in F1. So there needs to be some kind of change or levelling there. So it's going to be interesting to see how Lindblad gets on. I think he's a great talent. It'll be great to see how he does up against Liam Lawson in the RB next year. Next up, on another race engineer story, we did get the impression that it was going to be Lambiasi's last race as race engineer to Max Verstappen at Abu Dhabi, and now it has sort of leaked out that it looks like he could well be going to Aston Martin as part of that bleed of talent that's come away from Red Bull and headed to Aston Martin. And I think that could be a really, really big job for Lambiasi. He could have a really, really top job, and he could be really influential. He's obviously done an excellent job, and he was promoted, I believe, at the start of the year to like a more head engineering role, but would still do the pit wall stuff with Max because of their relationship. But it looks like he's going to Aston Martin. There's another big bunch of coal to put on the fire, ready to talk about the potential for of Max Verstappen to go to Aston Martin in 27. I suppose it's another big temptation, isn't it? You've already got Honda there, you've already got Newey there, you got Lambiasi there as well. It's kind of all set up for him, isn't it? All they've got to do is make sure the car's good and have a year of bedding it in ready for him. Alonso warms up the seat for him, so in 27 they're ready to go. We've all talked about those rumours and we know it could potentially happen. And the last thing, there have been some news stories like Verstappen signs with Mercedes and it's like massive fonts and it is clickbait, but it is also true. He hasn't signed an F1 deal with Mercedes, but his GT team has switched to Mercedes in a multi-year deal, and it is just his GT team that has signed. So ignore the clickbait headlines. Verstappen hasn't left Red Bull, he hasn't gone to Mercedes. His GT team will be running Mercedes cars next year. That's it. That's the story, okay? So if you've seen that clickbait, ignore it, because that is the actual story. And on that note, I hope you've all had a great Christmas. I hope you all have a great New Year. Enjoy Crimbo Limbo and enjoying a drink and not deciding what day it is. But I'll see you all next week with more news. Thank you very much.